Hello everyone, hope you all are doing good. In today's video, we will understand how to write impressive and accurate introduction of writing task on academic. So if you're preparing for IELTS exam, especially IELTS academic exam, then this video is for you. And watch this video till the end, and you will understand how to write an effective introduction. Introduction is a very crucial part of your writing task one. In fact, writing task two as well. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay. Right. So without further ado, let's begin. So what do we get in our writing task one academic? Well, in writing task one, we get different kind of data charts, such as pie graph, line graph, paragraph, or table. Apart from data graphs, there can also be process diagram or map as well. But let's talk about graphs first. And these basically graph can be a singular graph, or they can be double graph, or they can be multiple graph. What do they represent, these graphs basically? Data charts or graphs usually contains data which can be in percentage, proportion, ratio, or number in million, thousands, etc., etc. Or they may represent amount of something, right? It depends, right? So there can be like singular chart such as this on your screen. As you can see there, it represents proportion, right? Proportion of who? Proportion of, I think, the proportion of the graduates who took various industries for their professions, right? Bar graph, singular bar graph, as you can see. Again, as you can see, the y-axis, the vertical axis is representing the data, and it is the millions of V barrels per day. Anyway, so it's a capacity, and that means amount which is being represented here. Now it's a line graph. Again, you can see the data which is there on the y-axis, and the timeline is on the horizontal axis. Then we have a table such as this, again represented in ratio. It's a mix of data which is being represented because income is also represented here, which is in amount. Now we may have like double graphs such as this on your screen, and double pie graphs, again representing proportion of people who took various activities in 2 different years. And we have like three graphs, sorry, representing again proportion and numbers as well. Again, double graph representing the proportion of boys and girls taking different cultural and leisure activities. And then we have double bar graph. Again, they represent some statistics. And now we have mix of graph as well, such as pie and table, as you can see here. Right? So in some cases, you may find mix of bar and pie, or line or table as well. As you can see there, it's a pie chart and table. So what do you have? You have 20 minutes to respond to the task, and minimum word limit is 150. However, we are not supposed to overwrite either. It's a very, you're expected to write a very accurate, precise, and concise description of the graph. Whatever is visible on the graph, whatever data is shown in the graph or graphs, is needed to be described accurately in a very concise manner, right? So ideally, it should be around 175 to 180 words. It's better not to cross 200 words in writing task on academic, or even in general as well. So that's what is expected from you. So let's first discuss about what the marking criteria are, because it's important to know, and you should be very careful about it. Your writing will be evaluated on 4 things. The first thing is task achievement. Task achievement means your information, overview, detail, and accuracy will be checked carefully. Examiner will see how accurately the data represented by the graph is described. Relevancy matters, and assumptions are not entertained. Rather, it ruins your band score. To improve your band score, analyze the chart and identify all key features. Highlight your key feature in an overview, supporting your body paragraph with the accurate data which is basically represented by the graph. Don't put wrong information at all. Avoid opinion or assumption in writing task on academic. Write factually correct data represented by the graph. So that's task achievement. 10 marks for that, you can say. Then grammatical range and accuracy, of course. Your grammar will be scrutinized and will be checked whether or not wide range of sentences are used. So number one thing, grammatically correct sentences has to be there. The subject verb agreement, right form of the tense at the right place, right form of the verb. Your punctuation also, where to put the comma, where to put the full stop, where to use the capital letter, where not to use the capital letter. These all things will be checked. Apart from the grammatical accuracy, the grammatical range will also be checked. The grammatical range means the variety of sentences needed to be written. So simple sentences, compound sentences, complex, passive. If there is a if any conditional sentence you might you if which might get fit into the context, you need to use it. However, I believe that in data charts, I don't think, because it's not exemption, and usually conditional sentences comes with exemptions. So I don't think they will be required in your writing task one. But we are supposed to use a range of sentences, including simple, compound, complex, and passive. Now the next is a lexical resource, which means a range of vocabulary will be checked. So this is something very tricky. Yes, of course, we are expected to use a range of words, synonyms, group of words, maybe phrases, but we have to be very careful. Yes, of course, we are required not to repeat the words, but at the same time, what happens is sometimes in order to bring variety, students use the wrong synonym in the wrong context. So yes, we are supposed to use synonyms and different words. You need to bring the variety, but at the same time, make sure that the word, whatever word that you're using or phrase you're using, that must fit into the context, right? So that is the thing. Now again, the final criteria is cohesion and coherence. That means connectivity of the sentences, proper flow, structure. These all things will be examined in this criteria. So these are the four main criteria on the basis of which you will be allotted the marks. Now let's understand with the example. For example, with every graph, do remember, with every graph you will have certain set of information and instructions as well. As you can see one graph on your screen, that's a double pie graph, and it comes with some instructions and information. As you can see there, you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. This of course is an instruction. This is the time limit, and this is what it is telling to you. Now there is information. It says the pie graphs below show the result of a survey of children's activities. The first graph shows the cultural and leisure activities that boys participate in, whereas the second graph shows the activities in which the girls participate. So this is the information provided by the IDP. And then again, some instructions: write a report describing the information shown in the two pie graphs, write at least 150 words. So we need to just be careful about the instructions that matters to us, and not the, of course, instruction, but we need to carefully read it, and then have a look at the graph. See the graph and what the graph says, what the graph describes. It is written boys, culture and leisure activities, culture and leisure activities. Proportion is also represented. Proportion is represented by the graphs. The first graph shows the proportion of boys who took various sports and recreational pursuits, you can say, right? Though it is written boys, cultural and leisure activities, but if you have a look at the graph carefully, you would come to know that actually it is the proportion of boys and girls who took various sports and recreational pursuits. So these are pretty good replacement in this case, because that's what the graph represents. So basically here we can replace boys cultural and leisure activities with the sports and recreational pursuits. Anyway, so how to write the introduction? In order to write an effective introduction, we are supposed to we are supposed to do the paraphrasing of the given information by the IELTS, right? So as you can see there, and the graph, the pie graph below show the result of survey of children activities. The first graph shows this, and the graph shows this. This is the information. This is needed to be paraphrased, and paraphrasing means to say the same thing in different words. So the meaning of the sentence should not change. We are not supposed to add anything. We are not supposed to subtract anything. So we are supposed to say the same thing which is written there in different words, or maybe different sentence structure. There's some common replacement which you frequently found those common replacements, as you can see there, the graph can be replaced with chart, result can be replaced with outcome, survey can be replaced with research or study maybe. Percentage, often you'll find this term. So percentage can be replaced with proportion or proportion with percentage. Other words also that can be used, ratio or share. Annual, often you'll find this word in your graph, which can be replaced with yearly or yearly with annual. Spend can be expenditure, spending, or you can say spending can be expenditure, or leisure activity can be a personal, recreational pursuit. Show, often you will find almost in every graph you will find what the graph shows. So this show word can be replaced with illustrate, delineate, represent, or expound. It can be replaced with compare as well if any comparison is made, like comparison of the data of 2 years or between two cities or between male and female, as in the previous graph we were observing. So table can be replaced with the tabular chart. To bring variety, number of graphs can also be mentioned if they aren't mentioned, if they haven't been mentioned in the information provided by the IDP. Now again, now see, have a look at this graph also. Let's go back and see this graph. Here we go. This one. The pie graph below show the result of a survey of children's activities. The first graph shows this, another graph shows this. We are not supposed to write separately as it is written here. Rather, we are supposed to write in a one single sentence. So replacement, as I told you earlier, the pie graphs is written here. So in order to bring variety, we can include the number as well, the two pie charts, because graph is written, so we can use the word chart. We can say the two pie charts. Okay, and the show can be replaced with illustrate. Result can be replaced with the outcome. Survey can be replaced with the study, and then boys and girls combined can be written with both the genders. Now, the only paraphrasing, you should not be doing only paraphrasing, because what happens is sometimes students, they get stuck with words. They often think how to replace this particular word with some other word. So yes, we are supposed to do the paraphrasing, but at the same time, just have a look at the graph also, what the graph says, what the graph represents. That's a pretty good technique. Yes, we are supposed to do the paraphrasing, but before you start writing your introduction or start doing your paraphrasing, have a look at the graph, and that's a solid technique. Have a look at the graph first. If you have a look at the graph, then ask yourself what it represents, what kind of data it represents. If I have a look at this graph, I would say, okay, fine, these two pie charts, what do they represent? They represent the proportion, or you can say percentage, right? Next question, ask yourself, what kind of proportion? Yeah, or proportion of who, you can say here in this case. So proportion of course, both the genders, or you can say male and female children, but not all the male and female children. What kind of male and female children? The third question you should be asking to yourself. Okay, fine, these are those kind of male and female children who basically take part, or you can say took part in various sports and recreational pursuits, right? So that would be far easy to write the data. Now we can write an introduction, something like this. Following this technique, we can say the two pie charts illustrate the proportion of male and female children who took part or who take part in various sports and recreational pursuits, isn't it? No, say something like that, like 1 second. So we can say that if you want to replace one by one, so as we can replace as well, we can do the paraphrasing. The two pie graphs illustrate the proportion of male and female children who took part or take part in various sports and recreational pursuits. That's how actually we can write the introduction using the second technique. When you look at the graph and ask yourself what kind of data it represents, proportion, what kind of proportion, the proportion of male, whose proportion, you can say proportion of male and female children, what kind of male and female children who are basically who take part or took part in various sports and recreational pursuits. So introduction is done. If you want to do the it can also be written something like this, maybe the two pie graphs compare, because comparison is made, and this is basically the preferences of boys and girls. So we can write the two pie graphs compare the preferences of male and female children while taking or choosing various sports and recreational pursuits, right? Because there is a comparison you can write. Again, it can be written something like this as well. The two pie graphs illustrate the outcome of a study on how both the genders like to take part in various sports and recreational pursuits. Third kind of introduction on your screen, the two pie graphs illustrates the outcome of a study about the proportion of male and female children who take or took part in various sports and recreational pursuits. So this is how the introduction is done, right, of pie graphs. So same thing will be applicable whether you get singular chart, double chart, bar graph, line chart, or table. Now again, see this example as well. It's pretty similar to the first graph. Two pie charts again are there, but instead of making comparison between boys and girls, here it shows basically the comparison is made in between two distinct years, 1999 and 2009. As you can see there on your screen, the first graph basically represents the proportion of people who took various activities and in 1999, and second graph represents the proportion of or the percentage of American citizens who took various activities in 2009. So you can say that again there's a comparison here. It's pretty similar to the first graph. It is written the information which is provided by the IDP is the pie charts. Pie charts show the result of survey into the most popular leisure activities in the United States of America in 1999 and 2009. So similar method we will use. We'll have a look at the graph. So of course you can do the paraphrasing, but sometimes just simply replacing word by word can be tricky, and you might get stuck to a particular word. So I rather suggest to my students just have a look at the graph and ask yourself what kind of data it represents. Again, here also it represents what? Proportion or percentage or ratio, you can say. Ratio of who? The next question you should be asking to yourself. And the ratio of American citizen. What kind of American citizen? The American citizens who took part in various sports and recreational pursuits again in two distinct years, and that's how the introduction can be written. So we can write the two pie graphs illustrate the proportion of American citizens who chose or who took various sports and recreational pursuits in two distinct years, 1999 and 2009, right? It can also be written something like this. The two pie graphs delineate the percentage of citizens of the USA who took part in various sports and recreational pursuits in two distinct years, 1999 and 2009. Delineate also means represent. Since it compare as well, so comparison is made between 2 years, so we can also write the two pie graphs compare the percentage of people, the percentage of American people you should be writing, not just people. You can see the two pie graphs compare the percentage of American people who took various sports and recreational pursuits in 1999 and 2009. Now moving towards the bar graph again. Bar graphs also come with a certain set of information and instructions, as you can see on your screen. The bar chart shows the number of visitors to 3 London museums between 2007 and 2012. Summarize the information by selecting this and this. This is the, of course, the instructions. As you can see on your screen, the bar graph basically represents the numbers, and as you can see on the x-axis this time around, the numbers are mentioned, annual visitors in millions, of course, right? So this is not representing proportion or percentage, rather this data chart is representing numbers. What kind of numbers? The number of visitors, you can say. So the which can also be replaced with number of visitors, which can also be replaced with the visits, number of visits, and there is a special term for that. I'm going to tell you that special term. Like a number of visits can be actually replaced with the number of visits can be replaced with a word footfall. FOOTFALL, footfall. So if I ask you a question, what is the footfall of the museum? That means I'm asking what are the number of visits in the museum. So what is the footfall of the museum in a year? So that means I'm asking the number of visits or number of visitors in a year. This is how it can be replaced. The footfall can be replaced with the number of visits. Number of visitors can be replaced with the footfall. Now let's write again the bar graph Here represents what it represents the footfall. So the bar graph represents the footfall of three different museums of London in 6 distinct years from 2007 to 2012. Again, the same technique. You need to ask the question to yourself what the graph represents, and it represents numbers. Numbers here in this specific case, the number of visitors which can be replaced with footfall. So we can write the bar graph represents the footfall of three different London museums in 6 distinct years from 2007 to 2012. Now we can also write the bar graph delineates the number of people who visited three museums of London from 2007 to 2012. Pretty simple. Again, line chart now. Line chart again it represents the data. If you have a look at the graph, the y-axis, you'll see the figures. It's basically the amount actually, because the spending is being mentioned. So expenditure, of course, it is the amount that was spent by those visitors coming from 5 different nations to New Zealand. And this is what needed to be written. So yes, of course, we are supposed to do some paraphrasing, as the graph can be replaced with line chart. Shows can be replaced with the illustrates maybe, or delineates. Annual can be yearly. Visitors can be tourist, yearly tourist. Spend can be expenditure or presented. So what we can write here is the line chart represents or illustrates the spending of yearly tourists to New Zealand from 5 different nations between 1996 and 2014. Do remember, if you use between, then you should be we can write like the line chart illustrates the yearly expenses made by tourists from 5 nations in their trip to New Zealand from 1996 to 2014. This is also another way of writing it, but again the technique is the same whether you get the line chart table or a pie graph or bar graph. You need to be asking to yourself, of course we are supposed to do the paraphrasing, at the same time ask a question to yourself what the graph represent. Have a look at this table as well. Information says the table illustrates the proportion of monthly household income of 5 European countries spent on food and drink, housing, clothing, and entertainment. Now, as you can see, the table represents proportion. And what kind of proportion? This proportion actually is a proportion of their total income, which is spent on different things. For example, if in France, you need to understand the data as well, because if you don't understand the data, often when you describe it wrongly. So you need to understand what exactly the graph represents. If you have a look at this graph, this proportion basically, if somebody is earning, let's assume if somebody is earning 100 rupees in France, so out of this 100 money, 25 rupees they're spending on food and drink, 31 rupees they're spending on housing, 7 rupees on clothing, and 13 on entertainment. Same is the case for Germany, UK, Turkey, and Spain as well. So this is what the graph represents. If any person is spending 100 rupees, this is what they are spending. This much is their this much is what they are spending on different item. 25 on food and drink in France, 31 on housing. Anyway, so what we are supposed to do again, we need to ask a question to ourselves: what does the graph represent? Here, graph also the graph represents the proportion, the ratio, the percentage, you can say, and proportion of what? Percentage of what? Again, income. It's a proportion of income which is spent on different commodities, you can say, or domestic needs. So we can write here is the tabular chart. The table can be replaced with tabular chart. The tabular chart illustrates the percentage of monthly spending on various domestic commodities of 5 European nations. That's what it represents basically. We can also write the tabular chart delineates the percentage of monthly earning that is spent on various domestic needs in 5 European nations, such as food and beverages, accommodation, clothing and amusement. So that's how it is, done, right? So that's how the introduction is written. So I hope that you understand how to write effective introduction. Try more introduction and share those introductions with me. If any correction is required, of course, I will certainly try to provide you the feedback. And in my next video, I'm going to explain you how to write the introduction of mixed charts or the multiple charts as well. Anyway, so stay tuned, and our services, don't forget that we provide live group classes, one-to-one class, writing assistance, speaking sessions, practice material we also provide, and pre-recorded video classes as well. This is our WhatsApp number, so if you need any kind of services from us, you can contact us anytime. Thanks for watching, and please do not forget to like and subscribe, and see you soon with another interesting and educational video. Bye bye, and see you soon.